Stats. Anybody? Remember, ask. That's why we're in groups. Girls, go borrow a graphing calculator if you don't have one. Perfect. That's it. Can you see there's options? There's edit and so on and so on and so on. Hit edit. Okay? So hit edit. So hit stats. And hit edit. Hit edit. It should bring you to a screen. Can you see a bunch of lists? L1, L2. Okay. Can you bring it? Can you see a bunch of L1s, L2, L3? If you have stuff, you borrow my calculator, and there's already things in L1 and L2, can you go all the way up to L1? Okay, go all the way if you can't go anymore, and then hit clear. I want you to clear out L1 and L2. Okay. Your list should be completely empty. Okay, go all the way, hit clear. There you go, and then go back to it. Go all the way up, go all the way, and then hit clear and go back to it. There you go. All right, anyone else has problems or issues with clearing your list? Okay, now our data says time spent practicing and the points score. Okay, so this on L1, let me tell you about L1. L1 will always be your input. What does input mean? X or Y? X. So go ahead and enter in all of your inputs. Okay, you have a list here of inputs. Enter all of that in L1. Then obviously you're gonna go to L2 and enter in all of your outputs. Okay, all of the outputs for our example today will be. Okay, so let me. Someone deleted it. Okay. So whenever you borrow a calculator and that happens, just reset it. So let me show you how to reset. Go ahead and hit second plus sign. And then see how this is reset. Go ahead and hit all the way to number 7. Hit enter. You want to do clear all the RAMs. Hit enter. And then go ahead and reset. Yeah. That allows the calculator to set it as like when it's brand new. Okay, so go back and enter in your L1, L2. Okay. Once you have entered in L1, L2 in your list, enter both L1 and L2. L1 is always going to be your input. L2 is always going to be your output.
Is this supposed to be just like numbers?
No. You need to hit enter, hit 0, enter. And then, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone else have issues with graphing calculator?
We don't know how to put it in.
Perfect, just like that. X and Y, huh? So hit your inputs are 0, enter, enter. There you go, and then keep doing all of that. And yep, that's okay. You're doing great. Once you're done with L1, go to L2 and do the same thing for the outputs. Go get a graphing calculator. You are going to be responsible for these on the test, so make sure you guys work it out.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I need you to follow along with stats button.
Oh yeah, I was trying to catch up because I was.
Okay, turn over. Go ahead. Turn the page. There you go. So go ahead and clear your calculator. So hit second plus sign. So we want to reset the calculator just in case students enter in something funny. So it's second plus sign. Very good. Go ahead to reset. Good. And then all RAM. Good. So just enter. And then reset, which is number 2. Perfect. So the first button you're going to press is stats. So write this down because it's hard to know like a bunch of buttons all at once. Yeah. So just write it down as we're going along, okay? Let me see your L1. Then you go to that one number and then clear it out. If you enter the wrong number, then just go to the number and just hit clear and then or delete either one. Okay, so what number did you enter? There you go. Yeah. Okay, so hit stats. Go to edit. Very good. So hit enter on edit. Excellent. So now you see L1, L2. L1 is always going to be the input of the data, which means what variable?
The X.
Very good. And then L2 is always going to be obviously output, which is the Y. So go ahead and enter in all your inputs and all the outputs on the data set. Following page, go to the next page. Anyone else having just trouble entering the data? Guys, hawk it out.
If I make an extra things,
That's okay. That's okay. You're supposed to have an extra one. Okay, go to the L2 and enter in your outputs. So right now you should have input and output. Both L1s and L2 are entered in. In addition, I want you to check, are the inputs and outputs lined up? Like, do they have the same exact number? So go all the way, scroll all the way down the bottom. Is one more than another? If that's the case, it's not going to run. So make sure both entries have exactly the same number of data. Okay? Anyone? Okay, raise your hand if you're still entering the data. Okay, go ahead and take some more time because we're going to, it's your first time using a graphing calculator. I want to make sure I'm going slow enough so we can all follow along. And if you need to, okay, write the buttons down on your notes. Okay. Can I go to the next step? Okay. So we did X values in L1, which is line 3 here, Y value in L2. Then it says here, press stats button. Can you see where it says stats? Okay. It says press stats button. So wherever you are, doesn't matter, hit stats. Can you see? Go to the right, it says calc. Okay. So it's these instructions are already on your notes. So pad stats. Okay. Remember you were in L1 and L2. So right now hit stats. Find calc. Okay. Any questions so far? I'm gonna hold it right here before I go further. Remember, we're trying to run a linear regression. So there's a lot of stuff on there. There's linear regression. There's quadratic. I want you to find this linear regression format. There's 2 types of linear regression on your graphing calculator. Find this one. Okay? And hit enter. And then if you have an older calculator, hit enter a couple of times. If you have a newer one, it says calculate, then just enter, do the calculate.
there's no start button.
I don't know how to use your Casio, so I'm gonna ask you to use one of my TIs.
Okay.
Yeah, go grab one. Okay, I'm gonna hold on tight before. If there's a button that says calculate, then hit calculate. Okay. Very good. You have a bunch of 0 and 1s. Go back to your list. Hit stats for me. You have a bunch of 0 and 1s, so I just not. Make sure it's okay. So actually, mode. That's fine. Okay, so go ahead and run it again. Hit stats again. Go to calc. Go down to linear regression. No. That first one. There you go. Let's reset again. I think there's something wrong. I'm going to reset your calculator because I think there's something off. I'm going to ask you to do the list again, okay? And then I want to make sure the calculator is not messing you up. Okay, I don't think you're in the right one. Go ahead and exit that. Second quit. Second quit. Okay, so hit stats. Okay, and then go to calc. There you go. And then find something that looks like this. Linear regression, quantity AX plus B. Okay, can you guys talk on your team? Make sure you guys are on the same page. Did you guys get an a B value in on the screen right now? Okay. We should all have the same A and B value. All right, compare the A and B value on your screen right now. Everyone should have the same identical A, B value. If you don't, that means you're doing something wrong or your partner's doing something wrong. Put enter. There you go. So compare your A and B value. Everyone should have the same identical A and B value. Do you guys all have the same identical A and B value?
Where'd you get the R to?
That's okay. We are not going to worry about the R's, right? Just A and B. Yeah. If you have R's and R squared, do not worry about the R's and R squared. Just A and B value. Okay?
So ours are like the same numbers, but A and B are switched.
That means somebody entered in the wrong list. L1 has to be
This was L1.
that first one. So go back to your list. Let me see.
Oh, I don't know.
How did you get back to the list? Do you remember the buttons?
That is.
Okay. So go ahead. How did you run? So the list is right. Go ahead and show me how you would run your regression. Count. Go down to, what does the instruction say on there? That one, right? Very good. That's exactly right. And then go down to calculate. So one of you did the reversal. Okay, so you go ahead and run yours again. Remember, I want in this form. It's ax plus b. Did you turn it off? Oh, your colleague's dead. You might want to grab a new one. No. No. There's one way that I want it. This linear regression. Let's make sure. No, that's not. That means your list 1 and list 2 do not line up. You have one too many entries or one short entry for list 1. So find this one. I want ax plus b, not a plus bx. So you're running the wrong linear regression. You're fine. Okay. We'll go back to L1 and L2. Make sure the dimensions are not too short. Okay.
I feel like they're lined up.
Okay, they line up. Go back to y equals. Okay, go clear that out. Okay, let's see. Var stats. Did you run it again?
Yeah.
Does it match this time?
Yeah.
And this one?
That one. Let me see what I'm gonna reset your calculator because what happens sometimes when you put your calculator in your backpack, like the buttons does something funny. You know what I mean? Okay. This means you have to enter in the thing again. So go ahead and enter in the thing and then try it again. Okay. All right. I think all of us have the same buttons now, right? Okay, so give it to me. Oh, that's not what I want. It says y equals ax plus b class. So what was the a value on your calculator? 0.97, so 0.97. What was the third digit? Make sure we round it correctly. 5, so that's not 97. It was 9 what? 8. Okay. Plus b, what's b? 8.36. What was the third digit after that? How much? 0. Okay, so 36, fine. Look, that's how we find the linear best fit using a calculator. So much easier by hand, isn't it? I don't need to worry about the centroid. I don't need to worry about finding the slope on my own. What's the slope here? 0.98. You're right. Okay. Okay. So what is the slope of your linear regression? 0.98. Okay. M equals 0.98. Again, if you need to write down the buttons of the calculator, please do so. Okay, you will be asked. Okay. What is your y-intercept of your linear regression? 8.36, you're right. So y-intercept, y-int. You can write it like this, y-intercept, which is 8.36. Or you can write it as an order pair, which is 0, 8.36, okay? On these two parts, as you can see, the second half of number 2 said, is that similar to the slope of your line, the best fit, or number 3? That, we're going to come back to this tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be continuation of this same set of notes. Because tonight you have to do this by hand, and then tomorrow we'll come back and compare. Okay? So the second half of these questions will come back tomorrow. Number 4 is your linear regression equation. Use your linear regression equation to predict the number of points scored during the 3 games when a player has practiced 30 hours. Write your answer as a complete sentence. So how would you do that? What would you do here? You already have the linear best fit. What would you do here?
Plug it in.
Plug it in. Yeah, plug in what?
The A value.
A value.
AX, like the X part.
What is the 30 hours? What does that represent? Input or output? Input. And input in this problem is what? X or Y? X. Okay. You already have an equation. Y equals, it was 0.98 times, in this case, times what? 30. And then added to what? What? 8.36. So use your calculator, punch it in, and we're going to have a decimal. Make sure we round it correctly. Once you have, the calculator will give you a decimal, obviously, but round it to whole number, because can your final answer be a decimal? No. Okay. What did the calculator give you in decimals? 37.76. It says here, write your answer as a complete sentence. You do it, and then I'll just call on you to give me your final sentence, okay? So write a complete sentence. Remember, this is application, so make sure you round it to. Once you have your sentence, can you share that with your team, please? So one. Good question. How would you round this to? Huh? To 37? 38, right? When you deal with score, it's not human or animal. So with humans and animal, you have to round it down. Does that make sense? But with score, you can round it up like a normal rounding goal. But good question. Very good. All right. So go ahead and write your complete sentence. Once you have your complete sentence, share it with your friends, and then I'll just call and give you your complete sentence. I'll write it on our notes. All right, here we go. Can you please give me your complete sentence? Kimmy. It will be, I'm sorry, one more time. 38 points scored after to 30 hours of practice. Okay, I'll just take one more student. So this will have a couple of different variation here. Megan B, can you give me your sentence, please? That's okay. When the player practice for 30 hours. I'm sorry, what is the second half? The number of points score is 38. Okay. So when a player practices for 30 hours, he or she can score 38 points. Are any one of those be okay? Sounds great. Okay. So number 5, it says here, is your answer to number 4 similar to the answers you got for number 8, which we're going to talk about that later when you guys do that for homework tonight? Okay, so we're going to save this for tomorrow. Now, this is a check for you. This means what? You try on your own. That means, hey, you know what? Let's practice using our calculator. So try it out. I'm going to come around and give you the homework tonight. So tomorrow we have the rest of them to compare with our notes.
Do we have to clear?
Yes, very good. You guys know how to clear your list now? Go all the way up to L1, okay, and then hit clear and then go back down. Then the whole list is going to be clear. The whole point of this is so we get to play around the calculator, so we know it for sure. Now, when you get home tonight, well, tonight you don't need a graphing calculator, but tomorrow night's homework, you're going to need some. You can always come to my classroom at tutorial, or you can use Decimal. There are already instructions for Decimal in the packet.
Go all the way down.
Tonight's homework is going to have to be done by hand, okay? So don't use any technology. Every step of the way, can you compare your answer? So if your number 1 is wrong, okay, then the number 2 is wrong. Because you just entered the wrong input and output, or in the L1 and L2. So every step of the way, compare. I'll put 5 minutes on the clock and then revisit us again in 5 minutes. I'm gonna walk around to make sure you guys have all your questions answered with the calculator.
Yeah, we don't have negatives.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like negative
I really think I found actually the way I've seen it, GPA is the kind of hours, as the hours of the related students, so that the GPA. Yes, it's kind of all hours. And it's not really true. That's kind of depends on
Are you guys okay so far with L1 and L2? And even the line of best fit in the calculator?
I would say
You guys okay so far with L1 and L2? Correct. A dependent is the one that exactly. That one being dependent, right? So it depends lower or higher depending on number of hours they play the game. Once you have the answer, can you compare it to your partner or your team? Yeah, there are two different places like we're doing. You guys doing okay still? You guys all have matching answers for the line of If you don't have printed notes, let's let me move it up. If you don't have printed notes, feel free to look over at your partner's notes. Okay. I know the list, but what's happening is making a copy of Brent. Okay, so how do we do it in the notes? How do we find the line of best fits in your notes? What number was that? No, a line of best fit with all information, slope and -7. Read all of that. Which one was asked? What number was the line best fit on your notes? Number 1. You're right. How did we do number 1? You're right. You're right. I'm going to call on you to give me the answer to these parts, okay? Sophia, dear, which part A? Which one is the independent, Sophia? Independent. Okay, so which one of these two, Sophia, is the independent? Hours of video. Guys, do you guys know what independent means? Is that X or Y? X. The same as input, so that's X. So X in this one is going to be hours of video games, okay? And then dependent. Can you give me, obviously, Ashley E., which one's the dependent? Very good. So your GPA depends on how much game or how little amount of games you play. The higher the GPA, the less the games, I take it. Okay. Find the line of best fit using the technology of your choice. So in this case, we're using calculators. Kimmy, what's your line of best fit? Is Kimmy correct on all of those numbers? I want to make sure I'm, because that's wrong, then the rest is wrong, okay? What is the slope? This one goes to Heidi M. Okay, and it says, oh my gosh, interpret this value. What does that mean by interpret this value? What is that? You're right. Explain what it means, okay? So let's talk about the slope. The slope is rise over run, right, guys? Okay, so M, it's always rise over run. Rise, is that Y or X? What's rise? Y or X? Y. Okay, X is run. Okay, so the change in Y divided by the change in X. I have a negative though, so technically, class, could I think of this negative 0.09? Can I put that over 1? Like that. Will that be okay? So, 1 is X, Y is what? What's Y? Yeah, negative 0.9. So tell me, X is the hours of games you play. GPA is negative 0.09. So is this positive 1 or negative 1? Positive 1. So is that going to be increasing or decreasing? Increasing in what? GPA or the number of video games played? So let's talk about this 1 right here. 1 on the bottom. It's increasing, you said. Increase in what? GPA or the number of games you play? Remember, this is rise or run. What's on the bottom again? X. So isn't that X, y'all? Isn't that X? Okay, so how would we write that? Every what? Hour, because this is 1 hour. So you can write 1 if you wish to. Every 1 hour, what? Increase or decrease in playing video games? Increase. Increase. In playing video games per week. Okay. What's the output? What's happening? What's happening? The GPA, what's happened to GPA? Decrease by 0.09. You're right. Because I'm using the word decrease. Can you see that I don't need to use a minus sign? Okay. All right. What is the y-intercept? What's the y-intercept for your line of best fit? 3.28. Okay. Explain to me what this means. Yes.
The GPA when the student doesn't play any hours.
Right. The GPA when the student does not play any video game. Okay. Yeah, the y-intercept is when x is 0. So x is the number of games play, or hours, I should say. Okay, predict the GPA of a student who plays video games for 9 hours each week. Oh my God, that's a lot of hours, okay? So Megan C, did you get to this far yet? Where's Megan C? I know, I feel like I call that name all the time, but I don't think she's here. Katrina, did you get to this part, dear? Predict the student's GPA? Okay, so I'm going to plug in 9. Let's see. Y equals negative 0.09 times 9 plus 3.28. What did you end up with? 2.47. Okay, yeah, so I'm not going to do anything with that, just 2.47 GPA. Is that okay? Last piece. How many hours of video game playing do you think a student plays whose GPA is 1.9? About 15. So did you do 1.9 equals? So x like that? Okay. All right. So did you guys subtract both sides by 3. Oh, there's a negative in front of my slope. Did you guys subtract both sides by 3.28? Okay. What was 1.9 take away 3.28? Negative 1.38. Thank you. 1.38 you just said. Okay. And then, guys, don't pack up. Okay. Then divide both sides by negative 0.09. And x came out to be about 15.33 hours repeating.
Yeah.
And then put hours next to it. Tomorrow, we'll come back together and compare the homework, which is done by hand, with your line of best fit. You have about 3 minutes. Make sure you guys all grab a homework, please.